Once upon a time, two boys grew up playing hockey in the village of Terrace, British Columbia. One of them went on to play in the National Hockey League. The other became a comedian. Now, one flies planes and coaches youth hockey. The other is still a comedian and owns newsstands. This is their podcast, Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian.
Well, hello, Jeff. My name is Ian Bagg. The show is called Enjoying Orange Slices. The game is hockey. I have no idea where to go from here. How are you?
I'm good. Was at the Vegas school nights, and the Flames were in town.
Ooh,
last night.
look at who's big fancy pads. Ooh, went to the game last night.
That's right. They asked me how I was doing. I was like, I don't really have a good answer. I don't have a witty
Usually
comeback.
it's pretty good. Yeah, this is how you start off. Well, the seats were good.
Yeah, I don't have the witty comeback for you, so I was like, I'll just get right into it. Went down and watched.
That means you're done. You're done with the podcast. You're like, minute one, finish it, wrap it up.
Yeah, exactly. You're the one that makes the living with the witty comebacks, not me. So, I know. I think I've overused that word already, but yeah. So okay. So I know we haven't talked about Vegas as much recently. I know we kind of focused on the West tonight or today. We're going to try and spread the love around a little bit, but I got to say, there's something going on in Calgary. You know what's on the verge of being good, but I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if the GM can wait for it to kind of see what blossoms out of it.
How do you mean? How do you mean? Like, you think that there's so much pressure from the Calgary fans that he can't wait to just let it happen naturally?
Well, I think they got rid of Zadorov, didn't want to be there. So anytime you get rid of someone that doesn't want to be there, I think there's a little bit of a boost to the room.
Absolutely.
Guys look around and go, hey, you know what? This isn't so bad. I mean, Calgary is a beautiful place to play, right? So the problem is they have some unrestricted free agents coming up. Lindholm, Hanifin, and Tanev. And Tanev didn't play last night because he got hurt in Colorado. Yeah. So, but
never
they
helps
went in.
Trading.
What?
When you're hurt, it never helps to be traded.
No, and that's what they wrote about last night. They're like, the GM, if he holds on to these guys, they can get more for them. But if they get hurt and they're out long term, you're not going to get anything for them. So
chances are that's Tanev more than the other guys, right? Tanev's kind of a bull in a china shop.
What do you mean, on the ice?
Yeah, on the ice. Like he that's the way he plays. He plays almost on the verge of getting hurt every shift.
Yeah, I mean, he stopped a puck with his face the other night when Vegas was in Calgary a couple of weeks ago. He literally dove in front of it. Like, both those brothers they're so good for the league. They're so good for their teams. Obviously, his brother plays in Seattle, and he plays with reckless abandon too. But
anyway, they're not good for themselves, though.
No, not for the long-term health of the family. Yeah. But I watch Calgary, and it's kind of a changing of the guard. So they got, I don't think I'm saying his name right, but Proposal, 76, this young kid. Zari looked really good last night. Dustin Wolf in goal, who we've talked about before, looked fantastic. If he was 6'4", he'd be in the league for a year already, but he's 6 foot. So, no, they just can't get themselves to that level. But he was unreal. Amazing how well he plays the puck. Played really well. And they got some other guys they're coming on, but they were up 2 goals in Colorado, lost 6-5 in regulation in the third period, and then they were up 3 different times on Vegas last night, and they couldn't put them away. So they're right there. I think they're good enough to be a playoff team. The question is whether they hold on to these UFAs long enough, because I think the changing of the guard has started. That Sharon Govich that they got him last year in a trade from a team out east. He had a really nice goal last night too. Ruzicka is another big guy that I really like for them. So there's some pieces there that their future looks pretty promising. The question is, what are they going to do with their kind of foundational pieces, which Lindholm's been, Hanifin's been, and Tanev have been, I mean, they could get a really good haul back for those guys and set themselves up to see if they could make it in this year, but definitely set themselves up for the next few years because they got the team up the street in Edmonton who's reeled off, 7 or 8 in a row now.
Yeah.
And,
Beating Chicago again last night.
Yeah, and McDavid and Draisaitl aren't going to be there forever, but they're going to be there for a while yet. So Calgary's kind of not only got to figure out their own house, but they got the team up the street that they're always in a constant competition with. Some hard decisions are going to have to be made in Calgary.
There are some hard decisions. I don't know. Which goalie do you trade?
I think Markstrom might have a no trade contract. So Vladar.
Can you imagine being in Calgary and calling for a no trade?
Well, what they do, I think, I mean, he might have a full no movement clause, but again, we'll talk about this. What most teams, if they give you a no trade or a partial no trade, they'll give you 10 teams. And the players, what they do for the tax purposes is they usually put the teams in Canada and the teams in California. Bless you. And that's just for strictly tax purposes, because if you think about it, there's some pretty good cities that are on that list for most players, not all of them. So I don't know what Markstrom has or doesn't have, but if it was me and you're trying to, I mean, Markstrom's capable of being top flight goalie still, and they kind of say, we'll bring Dustin Wolf along with them. If you could, there's another side of it goes, you move Markstrom, veteran goaltender, to a team that needs some help, and you keep Vladar and Wolf, you're young in goal, and you're got some youth coming in your organization.
Mm-hmm.
And if so Calgary's a really interesting team because they're either going to keep these guys and make a run for it, or they're going to move these guys who are going to help whoever teams these guys go to. They might be enough to push them over the edge.
It's interesting what you do in the West, because it's such a traffic jam out there right now. So I don't know. I don't know which one you want to. Do you want to rush into the traffic jam, or do you want to let it ease up a little bit?
Again, I think it comes down to the health of the players, how your teams do it. Really, Calgary should have. They deserved probably better in Denver. They got a point here last night in Vegas. So instead of walking out with 1 out of 4 points, they maybe should have had 3 out of 4. Dice it up whatever way you want. They had a chance to win it in overtime. Puck got picked off and it goes the other way. Eichel, beautiful pass to Stone, and the game's over for the Knights. But I do believe, if you think about it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's not me texting you right now either. If you think about it, in the West, okay? 3-9-1 is how the Oilers started, and now the Oilers are right on the verge of getting into the wild card. Every team's been losing around them. So you've got Vancouver, LA, and Vegas in the Pacific who look pretty darn strong. Then you've got Dallas, Winnipeg, and Colorado who look really strong. Edmonton's going to get in. Whether they track one of the teams down the Pacific, I don't know, but you got to earmark a playoff spot for them now. So that means Seattle, Nashville, St. Louis, Seattle, just to name a few, are the teams that are going to be fighting with Calgary to see if they can get that final wild card spot, I think. And Edmonton's been winning 5 or 6 in a row, and these other teams have all been scuffling.
Do you think Seattle's really going to be in that fight?
Yeah, I think Seattle hangs around. Absolutely.
I think you're one of the few that said that, and I feel like
I think they hang around.
I think they also need a piece, right? Do you think they need a piece too? They need a couple pieces there, right?
Well, they had such a good thing. They played with their hair on fire last year.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as big, and they're not quite playing the same way as they were last year. But I really am pulling for Seattle, especially.
Definitely not as big.
No, and you know what? And these other teams, Seattle's snake bit around the net. They're just not. They're not producing it. I mean, they won last night 4-0, but and the other team I want to throw in there was Arizona in the wild card.
Arizona,
yeah. So I want to see Seattle do well as we work our way to the Winter Classic, because I want them to be on a roll when they see Vegas and that. It's good for the league.
That's in Seattle, right?
is in Seattle at T-Mobile Park, where the Mariners play.
That would be a fun one to go to. That would be a
It
real.
would be. Actually, you know what? And we'll talk about this a little bit later on. I was at are we going to talk about it now? I was at an event the other night.
We're talking about it right now.
Yeah, we are, I guess, unless you want to go another direction, because it has to do with that game. Monday's Dark is a thing in Vegas by a young man that you know well, and you were at the event last year.
Yeah. Not invited this year. Caused too much trouble.
I know, yeah. The first question, so last year, Ian was on there. Were you on just after the girls with the bow and arrows or before?
Yeah. Right after. Busy trying to.
Almost got taken out by a crossbow.
Almost got taken out by two gorgeous girls and a crossbow. I'm just like, oh, I didn't know what. I was scared and excited at the same time.
So Ian was in last year.
Let's explain though that they wear leather pants, and then one girl holds something and the other one does a handstand and shoots the arrow and knocks the things off. It's nuts.
With her feet.
With her feet.
Yeah.
So, there's some weird fetish guy out there buying all those videos.
Well, and the funny part about it was you didn't want to stand behind her, but you couldn't help yourself. So if she missed, you would have taken one. you were off to stage right, is that? Or stage left?
I was stage left. I was stage left. And they were warming up, and I'm like, oh, why am I standing here? This is stupid. Yeah, but it was fun. It was a good time. Did they do this year?
Yeah, so it was his 10th anniversary of Monday's Dark. And the quick story on it is probably not going to be that quick, but Mark Chinook, whose dad owned the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, he's from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, came out and was the star of Rock of Ages, one of the leads, Lonnie, and I missed that show because the whole cast came to the 10th anniversary. So what Mark's been doing with his wife for 10 years is they've been doing a Monday's Dark, because that's usually when most of the shows, but definitely Rock of Ages, wasn't performing. So he takes 90 minutes and a nonprofit charity in town, and they raise 10 grand for these people in 90 minutes. So the 10th birthday was the other night, and one of the raffles was...
I was at the 10th birthday.
You were at the 9th.
Oh.
I know. And the first question you asked me was there another comedian there?
I was so jealous.
I know, he's laughing. Anyways, to get to the Winter Classic, Cirrus Aviation, our good friends, the Woods brothers, who run Cirrus Aviation here in Vegas, free round trip on one of their airplanes, up and back, with tickets to the Winter Classic.
So they gave that away at
yeah, live auction. They did it, and it went...
How much?
I think it went for 10. Oh, they ended up being able to do 4 tickets, so they did 10 grand a piece. So they were able to raise 20 grand for this. And I mean, what a deal. You can't even look at one of those charter airplanes for 10 grand, never mind.
That's insane.
VIP tickets and accommodation in Seattle for this thing. So that was really cool. So Mark's a big hockey guy. He's one of the guys that is on the mic at the Vegas Golden Knights game, get everyone going before the game, kind of like the MC of the evening. Huge hockey fan. So I wanted to talk a little bit about him today, but when the Winter Classic came into it, I thought, I was at an event the other night, and you could have gone VIP, private jet, and accommodations up and back for 10 grand. That's pretty, I know that's a lot of money, but still for that.
Well, that's a lot of money, but that when you're playing with that kind of money, that's a deal. That's going into Terrace Esso and saying, hey, 91 cents a liter. I'll take that.
Remember when it used to be 91 cents a gallon?
Oh.
Which is, I don't even know what that is a liter. What would 91 cents a gallon be? I don't know.
91 cents, it'd be about 20 cents a liter, right? Isn't it five
4 or 5, yeah. 4. Yeah. How about us doing math on a hockey podcast? Good
Caledonia
job.
School math.
I know. I saw that today. I was like, brought a tear to my eye. But anyways, moving on. So
no, we can't move on. What were the acts that you seen on that thing? I need to know more about the acts.
Okay, so your girls that opened for you, they weren't there this year.
Boo.
But we had, okay, so
you know why? Because of an accident, they couldn't.
They were like, We can't follow him or go
No,
lead
no,
him.
they're like, we got to get this arrow out of my friend's shoulder.
We wanted to go for a drink after, but we had to go to emergency.
Oh, you had time. You were going to be standing in line for a while. You could have gone for a drink.
Yeah, it was actually really a smooth operation this year. So this was at the Pearl in the Palms Casino here in Vegas.
Is it called Yamama now or something like that? What's
Yeah,
it called?
the Yamava. These guys, I'm telling you what, it was packed in there too. Like not just for it's a 2,000 seat theater, which I think
Uh-huh.
would be a great room for you one day. You know, when you come back here and visit the big city. But I thought I couldn't believe how busy the casino was. It was awesome. Looked like a ton of locals, but just it was hopping in there, which I hadn't seen in a while. So the acts were okay. So one of your favorites. I'll lead with this one. It's tough to follow, but Magic Mike came down and did a set. Yeah, we had the cast from Rock of Ages, the original cast that Mark had started with,
Nice.
and they did a couple songs. And a couple of his buddies came out, a couple bands. They had the Opportunity Village come out, and they had their own music department, and they all the Opportunity Village kids came out, and some of them are adults, and they did an Elvis thing, and it was phenomenal. Great, just it stole the show really. Mark did a couple numbers with his wife, just a really kind of a little bit of everything, and I'll think about some other ones as we go forward. But a lot of music, a lot of Broadway people, and just all raising.
Did you bid on anything?
No, I didn't this year. I didn't bid on anything. I think last year was good enough, don't you?
I think you put in for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Mark Chinook, big hockey guy. We got to get him on one day, and talk about all the stuff he did. But family goes way back in hockey with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Came out. They're like just kind of like you. He grew up in a hockey town and he became an artist.
That's the only way. The
Yeah.
only way. Some other people are busy taking all the hockey accolades. So, you just go around the other way. I'm a donkey. I love it. Hey, what we got? There's sad. Berube got fired yesterday. That was sad. I know we had some good talks about everything else, but Berube, you played with him, right?
Played against him. So I started playing against Craig Berube, Coach Berube now in junior, and he played in New Westminster. And that guy, and he's going to end up. I don't think he'll be out of a job long myself.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt this. Do you think he's a guy that you bring in halfway through the season, or is he somebody that you start out the season with?
Him and Tocchet are kind of similar in a couple of regards because they're kind of from the school of Hard Knocks, both those guys, right?
Right.
Like Berube played over 1,000 games in the NHL as a player, and there was nobody harder nosed than he was, and I think he brings a lot of that to his coaching. But and Rick Tocchet was very similar, right? Really hard nosed guy, but I think people rally behind them. I think those are the kind of guys that players like to play for. I think they're both really demanding.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I also think they've adapted with the game. And I think that's what I think is the most impressive thing about Berube and Tocchet is how they played when the game was a whole different era and how they've adapted and the success they've had as coaches. And I mean, look at Vancouver. These guys would follow him anywhere. And St. Louis, they're the classic story, one of the greatest stories ever in the NHL in 2019. Last place at what was it, January or December 31st? They ended up winning the cup. So I think he won't be out of a job very long. And I think I don't know what's going on in St. Louis to move him on like that because they got rid of a bunch of their stars, like Petrangelo's in Vegas, O'Reilly's now in Nashville. They moved people out.
The team's basically gone, right? So yeah, that won the Stanley Cup. Does this put more pressure on teams that were thinking about fire their coach? There we go. There's some side issues. Hey everybody. But like Ottawa's thinking about getting rid of their coach. Does this move up the schedule because now you have St. Louis has fired the coach, probably looking for another coach. It might be somebody that Ottawa's looking at.
Well, I think any team that's looking to make a move or not happy with the performance of their team right now is definitely having a long look. It might have sped it up a bit with Berube being available, because
But not even Berube being available, but maybe somebody else you were looking at before Berube got fired.
I mean, it depends.
Tell me to shut up. I can tell you want me to. You don't want to tell me.
No. I mean, I'm trying to follow where you're going with that, but like St. Louis brought up Drew Bannister, who's coaching the American League. So they're going with an interim guy.
Right. He's not there forever, right? He's maybe.
You know what? I think the reason that you bring up your American League guy, it's the same reason they did it in Edmonton a few years ago with Jay Woodcroft. He knows the organization really, really well. He knows the guys that are in the show. He knows the guys that play in St. Louis, but he knows all the guys that are trying to get to St. Louis and the players that the general manager stuck his neck out to draft and sign.
I see.
He knows what makes them tick in the minors. So
I get you now. I get you.
I think, like, I'll give you an example. In Henderson here, last year when the Henderson Silver Knights were out of the playoffs or didn't make the playoffs, and Vegas went on that long run, the guys they brought up from Henderson skated every day along with the guys that didn't play, right? So, and so you'd have, like, say, a guy like Ben Hutton who didn't play, say, to start, but was in the playoffs from time to time playing for the Golden Knights. He skated. Well, the guys that skate these guys are usually your American League coaches. And two of the guys, they had Misha Donskoy was their skills guy, but you had Jamie Heward and Joel Ward, who were your American League coaches, two of them, skating those guys every day. So your American League guys and your prospects and your, fringe, I don't want to say fringe, but your guys that come in and out of the lineup on the NHL level, like Drew Bannister would know all these guys really, really well. So that's why they didn't probably reach outside the organization right now, or the guy they want outside the organization, say Joel Quenneville, somebody like that, maybe Gerard Gallant, whoever isn't available right now. And of course, Quenneville wouldn't be available because maybe Bettman wouldn't allow that to happen yet. So that's what the thinking is, I think, in St. Louis. Change of pace, bring their young guy up, give him some experience at the NHL level, and see if he can get a little bit more or just lead a little different direction. Similar to what's happened in Edmonton and Minnesota when they made changes, the team has gotten a little bit of a bump.
Fair enough. I
still think Berube is one of the guys that's impressed me the most over the course of time, what he's been able to accomplish. And so it isn't if, it's just when he lands.
It's not just players that like him, though. Guys want to hire him. People want to give him jobs, right?
Yeah, he's just, you know what? I mean, you look what he did in St. Louis. You can, look at it from whatever angle you want, whether it was fair or unfair. Coaches, they know they're hired to be fired, and I would have liked to. I thought I kind of St. Louis identity. I see Craig Berube, so maybe they want to move on from that. But I think it puts a lot of pressure on the general manager now because he was a pretty popular guy. So, but maybe the GM didn't think the message was getting through anymore, and that's why he made the change.
Obviously, why? Yeah. Obviously, why he didn't think. Let's talk about where the message is getting through. Let's go to San Jose. Give them a little bit of a talk because they beat Winnipeg last night, but they were out east, and holy crap, they seem to be turning the page, as they say.
Yep, I think they are now. Let's see, they were 8.
They're still in last place.
No, they're not. They're not. They're ahead of Anaheim and Chicago, and my guess is them and Columbus aren't far apart. Yeah, so they're like
they must be thrilled by that.
Yeah, they're like, oh my, we're giving up our lottery pick, but they are in their last. Let's see, they were 8-7-1 or something when they came through here the other night. So they're 9-7-2 in their last 18 games, I believe. So, and if you watched them on the East Coast swing, their goaltending really kept them in some games. They got some great
Got them out
timely
for a while, and
scoring.
then they would come back in. Like Blackburn was horrible out there.
Yeah, and so they did a great job finding points on the road. They came in here. They were down 4-2 to Vegas. Came back, found a way to get it to overtime. Probably could have easily won that game. And then last night they beat Winnipeg at home. So, and if you look around the league, there isn't too many teams playing much better than Winnipeg and Vegas. And I don't know. They beat the Islanders. They came back big on the Islanders. They came back big on the Red Wings.
Jersey.
They beat Jersey. And I don't know. I don't think they beat the Rangers, who's also won it, but they were right there with them.
I think went into overtime.
Well, think about it. The Islanders are as hot as anybody too. So they beat, and Detroit was rolling. So they beat the Islanders. They beat Detroit. They lost to Vegas in OT, and they beat Winnipeg, who's as good as anybody in the last month and a half. So yeah, maybe things are going. What I really liked about what I saw from San Jose the other night was they were the foot was on the gas. They were going for it. They were playing to win, and that give David Quinn credit, man. They're turning it around.
They are definitely. They were fun to watch last night too, and I also like their blue helmets when they wear white jerseys.
Yeah.
You don't care. You don't.
Hey,
care.
did you notice this year, like some of the helmets, like Vancouver, when they wear their throwback jerseys, they got those matte black helmets they're wearing. Like the NHL is really making an effort to try and bedazzle the helmet with the uni. I gotta give them credit for that. So
yeah, you might as well, right? It's part of the game. It's trying to make it look cool. You want, and it's about time the out front players look as cool as the goalies. The goalies have been looking cool for years.
Yep.
And why not give them a little bit of bedazzle, put a little bit of flair into what they were. By the way, I think the goalies have picked it up a notch too. The way their pads have been looking lately, and everything's looking. I don't know. It's a good looking league right now. Really handsome. Really.
Yeah.
Handsome.
Well, and remember when Vegas came in with the gold helmets? Everyone's like, "Oh, I can't believe it!" And I think they wore the gold helmets, but the other night against San Jose, they didn't wear them last night. But and then LA's got the chrome,
chrome.
helmet,
yeah,
and these other teams are matching their helmet with.
They're trying to find their thing. Yeah,
yeah, I like it. Get some flair, right? Get some flair.
We'll do a couple more things, and then we'll get skedaddle out of here so people can get going. What do you want to talk about?
How about Dylan Larkin with a scary hit the other night, and then I didn't hear what happened to Perron yet.
6 games.
Perron went how many?
6.
I thought that would be at least a 5. So for anybody who didn't see it, Dylan Larkin got kind of sandwiched between 2 Ottawa players the other night.
Right? He got good,
yeah. Well, he ended up getting pushed from the back from Joseph, and I forget who caught him in the front, but I think he might have got him right on the chin with his cross check, and it's a bad scene. I mean, this kid's had some injury troubles before, but he's the face of the organization in Detroit. He's a Michigan boy, and Detroit's on the rise. You don't ever want to see anything like that. Perron snapped. He went after Zub, who had nothing to do with the play. So now Perron's gone for 6 games, and just kind of hope Larkin's good, because you certainly don't want to see anybody in that position. And it's interesting as you watch that play. You can kind of look at it and say, well, what were they doing? But I don't think there was any intent to, certainly not to injure. I just think you got one guy
seemed like a regular hockey.
Yeah, just to play, right? And it went bad, and that happens once in a while.
I had to watch it 3 or 4 times, and I still didn't really get where he got injured. Right, I was trying to figure whether he got injured when he hit the ice, or I guess it's when he got hit with a stick. But then you see somebody else. You see Kuzmenko in Vancouver take a puck to the chin and get back up and skate away. They picked him up, but it was it's the same area of the body.
Yeah.
Whereas you when you first seen Larkin go down, you're like, is he going to get back up?
Well, and you know what? So you've got that force of the puck, which anybody's ever been hit by a puck knows that doesn't feel very good. So somehow
Tell me more
Kuzmenko,
about it.
no, I won't. But Kuzmenko, the thing was, is you got the force coming from one area. He was getting pushed out from Joseph, and I forget 27 for the Senators was coming down, and before the game, the coach is like, "Hey, we got to watch Larkin." Like,
Right.
there's people you circle on the board, and I'll give you an example. Like every night Edmonton plays, 97 and 29 are circled. Doesn't
Right.
mean guys are going to be, going after them, but you got to have a heightened sense of awareness. It's the same in Colorado with 29 and 8, right? McCarr and McKinnon. You're going to get circled. Dylan Larkin is one of the star players in the league and one of the star players. And so these guys are thinking, hey, Joseph's thinking, I got to get him out of here. And the other guy's going, I got to come down and crash down and make sure, whatever kind of mess is happening in front of our net, we try and close down and clear it. I think what happened is you had force coming over the back, right? Pushing him down because Dylan Larkin, I think 6'1" or 6'2". So he's, he's quite tall. And so he was getting pushed forward.
Player.
And the other guy was
For a
coming.
goalie.
No, he could never play goal in the league, right? At 6'2". I think the only guy 6'2", there's only a few of them around. I think Flowers one of them. But anyways, he was getting pushed one way. The force came from the other way. I think that might have been, where the problem was. And so unfortunately, we'll pull for him. And I don't think there was any malicious intent or nefarious
Arius.
nefarious thoughts, but it wasn't a
No,
nefarious.
I don't think it was that. I think the same thing would have happened no matter who was there, right? So it was harsh.
Well, hey, and so let's move on to finish up with Washington. So the guy that owns the Wizards and the Capitals, they're talking about building a
Guy that owns AOL, right?
Yeah, he was an AOL, big guy from AOL, Leonis.
Yeah.
And so there's property just south of Reagan National Airport, which I know you've frequented before. Anybody who's been out to Washington, D.C., Reagan National, one of the coolest airports. What?
It's the easier airport to get in.
It's so easy, but Dulles is so nice. Washington Dulles Airport, one of my favorites in the world. But DCA, what they call it, Reagan National, and they're talking about putting a $2 billion project just south of DCA. Hey, is that Henry?
That's old Hen there.
So, hey, but one thing, that's it. He doesn't want to stay up?
He's there.
Okay. But here's the one thing about that is if they move the team, then they'll be in Virginia, right? They won't be in DCA anymore.
But weren't they in Virginia before?
Or sorry, DC. I think maybe
Maryland. They were in Maryland.
Landover, Maryland.
Yeah. So this isn't a new thing.
No. No, but it's not like we talk. It's like a different state, but it's literally right off the end of the runway at Reagan National, like
a different block
right there. So I mean, it's 20 minutes from downtown DC.
Does he not own the building they play in downtown right now?
No, I don't.
That's gotta be the only reason.
He might own it, and I don't know what the deal is. But he said that's a great question. He said that they're still going to put. He owns the WNBA team too. He said the WNBA team, I think, is going to play there, and then they're going to have more time for concerts. But they're talking about putting $500 million into the building they're in now to try and keep them. So the bidding war is on.
It's I've seen the game a couple years ago. It's not that old of a building. It can't be more than 20 years old. If it's
yeah. If you're going to look around the league and you're asking yourself where we need a new building, I think San Jose is one of them. Calgary definitely needs a new building.
It's not Washington.
No, I mean Washington's that's a pretty nice setup, and I'm sure Winnipeg would like to put a few more seats in as well. Ottawa needs a new building, like 10 years ago. So I don't know.
It's a different city 10 years ago. I don't get the want to move out of a city. I think people love to go downtown and see the game, right? So
Well, we're only talking a few miles away. Like it's not like
true.
we're talking about a different. We're talking about a different state,
I'm
but we're
just
talking about a different state that's right over. Basically, the ones on the state line, the other ones on the state line. We're
right,
talking
but,
miles.
but what I'm saying is like with Ottawa, with the building
Oh,
being out of town, the old Sacramento Kings building, which is basketball out near the airport, like
yeah,
you want to have that city vibe, like the Seattle where they're the buildings downtown. You want that downtown feeling, and they got to be careful when they. I don't know, just a different zip code can for business.
yeah. Well, and talking about
The
buildings, look
language.
at our friends in Arizona. I mean,
Hmm.
they can't find.
They kind of need a new building too.
Yeah, can you imagine if we can? We talked about it last week, but if you can get a playoff game in the Mullet Arena, it's the best of times and it's the worst of times, right? Because good for
But they're
that
playing so
team, but
good.
I'd love to see them get in. I really like what they've done there. I think their management and their coaching is on the same page, and I mean, it's
Where
gonna.
did Pittsburgh play last night?
They played at home.
Okay, so but was it against Arizona?
Yeah.
So there was a kid that was in Sidney Crosby's kids to skate or whatever it is, and probably has something to do with Tim Hortons from
Hmm.
Pittsburgh. And Crosby coached him as like a 4-year-old, and he played against Crosby last night. They did the face off at the beginning. Who was it? Who's
Is
the
it Cooley?
That's who it was.
Yeah.
So now, can you imagine just going up against the guy that told you how to play?
I think it's awesome. I mean, there's
It's how the game.
that's a
It's how the
couple
game
times,
builds.
right?
But
Well,
how?
you know what? It tells you all about Sidney Crosby. Like the first draw he took this year was against Connor Bedard, number one guy in the draft. That probably was one of his idols. Like every night, these guys are playing against their idol, and
Mhm.
he's still performing at a high level. I will say this about Pittsburgh: we'll
And
keep waiting for him. They're turning the motors turning over. It runs, and then it kind of sputters out, and then it runs and
yeah,
sputters out. I would think just off the top of my head, the last guy that you would ever trade out of Pittsburgh would be Sidney Crosby. But I never thought Gretzky get traded either.
right.
And so I guess that kind of shows you
Well,
that I'm a
that's the
little
rumor.
gullible on that, but I cannot imagine
That's the
trading
rumor that
Sidney
he
Crosby.
may not retire as a Penguin. To me, it's like cutting off the catalytic converter and then driving away with the car, just leaving that behind.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see how. I mean, think about it. If you trade him, I don't know what he's got left for time on his contract. He's got at least 2, 3 really, really good years left.
At
Like you
least.
watch him out there, they can't get the puck from him. He does stuff that is still at a super, super high level, elite. Like the guy is a superstar, first ballot Hall of Famer, Stanley Cup, Team Canada. He's been there and done that. Just imagine if you could get your hands on that guy, even if you had to give up some stuff. You go, hey, we need you for another couple years, 2, 3 years to help get us to over the hump.
Yeah,
I'm guessing he's still got 3 to 5 left in him, but 3 good ones for sure.
he still
Right,
loves the game. He still loves
right.
playing.
It's
You can feel
amazing.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up.
shout outs.
Yeah,
Got
let's
got you
do
got a
some
shout
shout
out.
outs. I got 2 shout outs. I got a shout out to the Comedy Store, which I'll be doing one night in I think it's April. I should really know.
April 14th.
April
We've circled it.
14th.
We've circled you on our calendar.
Keep an eye out. April 14th, I'll be there for one night. My first downtown LA on Sunset Strip headline, all about me. And now May 30th in Vancouver at the Rio Theater. Boom. One night, Thursday, May 30th. That sells out. We'll do 2 shows, but right now we're just doing one show in Vancouver. So shout out to everybody that's paid attention to my comedy and had a good time. 2 very big spots that I've been excited about playing that I haven't played. So 2024, suck it.
We're trying to rally the troops for the 14th. And now I might have to rally them. Might have to combine that with a trip to Terrace after.
Oh, that'd be good.
Go see
By the way,
Moses. Yeah.
by the way, looks like we might have to do a trip in August to Terrace after
Okay.
talking to Mr. Flaherty today.
Oh yeah, I know. We I guess we're trying to do shout outs. We'll talk about Flats real quick. Flats went up and did a goalie camp last year in August. I couldn't do it because I was working and Ian couldn't do it. But
I'm a donkey.
yeah, we might have to go up and see what's going on. Flats, it was for the kids. He did a great job. So
We might be doing it for the kids. I might have to go up and show my goaltending prowess.
yeah, you go up and show them how you used to burn up and down the right wing.
Yeah. I'll go up and show them why I didn't make it to any league.
Yeah. Well, I've witnessed it. So, but Ian was the same size when he's 14 as he is now, 6'4", out there, this hulking defenseman, sometimes right winger.
I've witnessed it.
You know, he would have been so much faster if he didn't have those thick ankles, though. That was the problem.
Johnny Cankles.
Oh my goodness. My shout out. You want to chirp me back? You can
No. I think I've witnessed this going on a card. I've witnessed it.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to shout out, and we're going to get him on the show. Oh, well, I got to shout out Henry because there he is, Dr. Henry Wong. Look, you see the look on his face. He's like, what's happening to me? I'm going to shout out Mark Chinook and all the great work that he does, not only in our community, does a great job with Vegas Golden Knights. If you ever watch Top Rank Boxing, he is the host of that down in the ring. But here's a guy that's a huge hockey fan, comes from a hockey family, but he gives back to the community in the biggest way. So shout out to you, Mark. Great job. And love. Yeah, he's a great guy. Love to all.
Love to all.